All right, so we're diving into something a little different this time. Ever heard of the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood?
Can't say I have. Sounds, intriguing.
Definitely. We've got this excerpt from one of their texts called Making Good Men Better. And, well, that's their motto too, making good men better. So we're going to be talking self-improvement, but with a spiritual twist, you could say.
All right, I'm listening. Making good men better, huh? Where do they start with that?
Well, the text mentions some interesting concepts. They talk about inner alchemy and awakening to a higher self. And get this, they emphasize the role of love and unity in personal transformation.
Love and unity, huh? That's not what usually comes to mind when you think of, self-improvement. Usually it's all about, like, pushing yourself, competition, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So let's break down this whole inner alchemy thing. The text describes it like we're refining raw materials within ourselves, almost like taking the lead of our negative traits and turning it into the gold of virtues.
I see. So, like, taking our flaws and turning them into strength. That's a
Yeah.
pretty powerful metaphor, like turning lead into gold.
Right. And they specifically say we all have these base aspects, things like selfishness, fear, stuff that holds us back. And
Mhm.
through inner work, we can transform those into higher virtues, think like compassion, courage, wisdom.
Yeah, okay. I get it. So what do you think? What lead do you think you could work on transforming?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Maybe impatience. Sometimes I catch myself wanting everything to happen right away,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that can hold me back from really appreciating the process and learning along the way. Turning that into patience, that'd be some serious gold.
Makes sense. Patience is definitely a virtue, I think, for me. Maybe it'd
Yeah.
be self-doubt, that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough. Turning that into confidence and self-belief, that'd be huge.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because this all ties into that idea of awakening to a higher self that the tat mentions. It seems like the Brotherhood is saying true awareness comes from shedding those limitations, those illusions.
Illusions, huh? What kind of illusions do you think they're talking about?
Well, I think they're talking about the things that prevent us from seeing our true potential, those limiting beliefs we cling to, like the need for external validation or the fear of failure, the things that keep us playing small. Have you ever run into that, feeling held back by a belief that just wasn't true?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I used to think I had to, have everything figured out before I could even start working on my goals. Like I needed some perfect plan, otherwise it was pointless.
And was that true?
Not at all. Turns out, just starting, even if it's messy, is way better than waiting for the perfect moment. That realization was a big step for me.
Totally. And it's interesting because the Brotherhood emphasizes creating this atmosphere of love and support to help with all of this. They say it's key to becoming more compassionate, not just toward others, but toward ourselves too.
Right. That makes sense. So, is that kind of supportive community something unique to this group, or do other philosophies talk about that too?
It's definitely a recurring theme in a lot of personal growth philosophies. But what's interesting here is how they emphasize love as the foundation.
Yeah.
It's not just about accountability or shared goals, but about cultivating a space where people feel genuinely cared for and supported. How do you think that kind of environment impacts someone's growth?
I think it makes a huge difference. When you feel supported, you're more likely to take risks, try new things, and push yourself outside your comfort zone. And if you stumble, which you inevitably will, you've got people there to pick you back up.
Exactly. It makes those challenges feel less daunting, knowing you're not facing them alone. And speaking of challenges, the text actually talks about growth through opposition. It's almost like they're saying, bring on the resistance.
That's interesting. So they're not shying away from the tough stuff. They're saying it's part of the process.
Yeah. They use the analogy of weightlifting. Your muscles grow stronger by overcoming resistance.
Right, right. The more you push yourself, the stronger you get. So they're saying it's the same with our character. Facing adversity head on is what builds resilience and inner strength.
Exactly. Makes you think about how we often try to avoid challenges when they're actually the things that shape us. They refine us like fire refining metal.
So it's not about seeking out suffering, but about recognizing that challenges are inevitable and really crucial for growth.
Hmm. Think about a time when you overcame a major challenge, something that felt really difficult at the time. Looking back, how did that experience actually make you stronger? I think about when I first started doing this podcast, actually, putting myself out there, sharing my thoughts with the world, it was terrifying. I was so afraid of judgment and criticism. But pushing through that fear, It helped me find my voice,
Mm.
It built my confidence in ways I couldn't have imagined.
That makes sense. And now you're helping others grow through this podcast. It's like a ripple effect.
Maybe, yeah. It's definitely rewarding. So before we wrap up, remember how I mentioned the excerpt is signed by Waxhira, founder and Grand Master of the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood?
Yeah, what about it?
Well, it also mentions a social media link for the Brotherhood.
Huh. So we've been looking at the teachings of a specific group here, a group with its own philosophy and a leader. That's something to think about.
Definitely. It adds
Okay.
another layer to everything we've discussed. So after diving into all of this, what's your biggest takeaway from the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood's approach? Anything strike you as particularly unique or thought-provoking?
For me, it's that emphasis on inner alchemy, the idea that we can actually transform our limitations into strengths. It's a good reminder that we're not fixed. We
Right.
have the potential to evolve.
And they're not afraid to say that growth often comes through facing challenges head-on, but doing it in a supportive and loving environment. Definitely makes me curious to learn more.
Me too. Maybe we will check out that social media link, see what else this brotherhood is all about.
Maybe we will.
Right.
And if any of this resonated with you, feel free to check it out too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.